Hello and welcome, everyone. It is time to enter the Kumite. This is not a sport. I repeat, this is not a sport. I'm joined today by our technical engineer, the 940 Ninja himself, Sean Myers. Today we will be discussing UFC Fight Night Brunson versus Till and digging into some fights that I have been personally anticipating. But first, if you enjoy the content we're creating, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Don't be afraid to hit that little bell icon either. That way you can stay up to date with the latest Kumite gossip. You can also find us on Breaker, Google Podcasts, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, and of course Spotify. So let's get right into it. Starting off, we have Paddy Pimblet versus Luigi Vendramini. Paddy Pimblet coming in as a slight favorite at negative 135. I conducted a prospect analysis of Paddy Pimblet a few months ago that I would encourage you guys to go check out. I was honestly hoping that Pimblet would drop into UFC's featherweight division, as I could see him having more success there, but I won't write him off because of it. There are so many variables that we don't have numbers for right now. I couldn't find too much tape on Vendramini online, so all I know of as of right now is the fact that we don't know how good his takedown defense is and that he has some power in those hands. The UFC has his takedown defense stat as a mysterious 0%. Little fun fact there. This is Pimblet's first fight in the UFC, first fight on a main card of a fight night. But still, that just goes to show he's got some star power behind him. He's got a little bit of a following already. Sky's the limit. Vendramini has power, but he typically throws really wild, especially when he's going for the finish. I see Pimblet ducking under some of the power coming his way, snatching up a body lock and going for a trip. Most of Pimblet's takedowns come from judo techniques. He likes to, like I said, go for the body lock and go for the outside, inside trips, the judo tosses, the hip throws. We will see how effective that can be on the highest levels of UFC. Pimblet needs to mask his kicks behind his hands. He has some good kicks. He can get his legs up there really quickly, but a lot of times he throws them naked. He throws them as distance gaugers. Like I said, I do have a prospect analysis video really breaking down what Paddy Pimblet does specifically. But Luigi will be looking to counter him when he brings that leg off the ground and start rushing him, bum rushing him down with left hands and right hands, hooks, overhands, straights, jabs. But he really does come forward with a lot of aggression and throws hook after hook after hook with a couple straights mixed in there. So Pimblet has a bad habit of backing up with his hands down, and he backs up in a straight line. This could be a really big problem for Pimblet if he's not extremely careful against Vendramini. But Vendramini's kind of reckless. So like I was saying, I do predict that Pimblet's going to be ducking underneath one of these loaded up, powerful hooks of Vendramini and trying to snatch up that body lock. Vendramini is a really solid opponent from what I've seen, but I'm going to hop on the bandwagon. I'm going with Paddy Pimblet via second round rear naked choke. Very specific, I know. I could just say submission, but Pimblet's really good in the scrambles, and when he gets on your back, it might be game over. He is really good about getting his hooks in, wrapping up a body lock, and wrist fighting, hand fighting, and just sneakily slipping in underneath the neck or underneath the chin. Okay, the next one we will be covering, Derek Brunson versus Daren Till. Daren Till coming in as a negative 175 favorite. That's a fairly hefty favorite, and I am not sure if I agree with this. This is a pretty close fight on paper. Derek Brunson has been putting in some work and taking out a lot of promising fighters. Elias Theodoro, Ian Heinisch, Edmund Shabazian, and Kevin Holland, 4 in a row. Brunson's changed up his style to really lean into his strengths. He still has a habit of rushing in with his chin up and throwing wild. It's just less often. But if he does this in this fight, rushing in like that, I do see Till getting that knockout victory. Till is a sharpshooter and a counter striker at heart. He likes to play everything very technically and from a distance. Till's preference to fight at a distance with feints is going to serve him really well in this matchup. He needs to make Brunson second-guess himself coming in and make him freeze up when he's defending. If he can get Brunson backing up, he needs to freeze him on his feet with his feints. Similar to the way that Adesanya did. he had Brunson shelling up. However, while Till is good at playing cat and mouse from the outside, the majority of his arsenal shines through within close quarters. His elbows, his uppercuts, and he even throws his cross fairly short. Till does not want Brunson in his face. Brunson has nasty power in his hands, and he can shoot for a takedown at the drop of a dime. At a distance, Till needs to be careful throwing his kicks to the body and the legs. Slamming his leg into someone's body, that's one of his go-to moves at range. But I don't see it being too effective of a weapon in this one. I feel like Brunson's definitely going to reach down there, try to grab that leg, make him have to balance on one leg, and then back him up to the cage and start trying to work for that takedown. Till is most vulnerable when he's coming forward with a strike already in mind. He usually doesn't bail on a strike if he's already decided that he wants to throw it. You see him quite often load up with that left hand and then bring his right hand down simultaneously for that counterbalance effect. And this leaves him wide open for someone like Derek Brunson. However, I do see Brunson not taking too many chances on the feet unless he has Till's back against the cage. But who knows? We could see Brunson counter him on the way in, similar to how things played out in the Woodley fight. Because I do see that being a consistent issue against a dominant striker with Daren Till. Till needs to be finding that jab out there very often to gauge the distance and interrupt Brunson on his downbeats. I do see Brunson getting at least one takedown in this fight. Till is Weasley, though, so I do predict that he will be able to get up depending on the type of takedown and depending on what happens in the scramble. Sometimes those scrambles leave someone in a terrible position, and it doesn't matter how good your takedown, how good your get-up game is. Ultimately, though, guys, I'm going with Till via second-round TKO. I see him using his feints to get a reaction out of Brunson at a distance and catching him with either an uppercut or a knee up the center. Till better be careful with those uppercuts, though, because Brunson has the advantage of the takedown threat. And he could possibly land a big overhand or straight. I don't know. This is a toss-up fight. When Till first came into the game, I was very high on Daren Till. But we've seen his human side come out. Ever since the Tyron Woodley fight and the Jorge Masvidal fight, he seemed to kind of second-guess himself a little bit, and I feel like he kind of questions his chin. And he feels like he might be seizing up under the lights a little bit when before he was soaking it all in. But he still has that star power potential. He still has a very well-rounded game and toolbox, things he can use. So I love both of these fighters. It's really good to see Brunson making a resurgence at this point in his career. At this rate, if he gets this win, he's looking at another title shot very soon. I still think Adesanya is a very bad matchup for him. But I don't know. We will see. I've earned a lot of respect from Brunson these last couple years. But with that, guys, we will go ahead and wrap up our thoughts on UFC Fight Night Brunson versus Till. I'd like to thank our audio engineer, the 9-4 Ninja himself, Sean Myers, for the sound we're sharing here. I'd like to thank the fighters for going up on the world stage and laying it all on the line. And lastly, but certainly not least, I'd like to thank you, our viewers, for joining the Kumite with us here today. If you want to see more, click here to see our Prospect series and more of our work. If you like what we're doing here, guys, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, this is not a sport. You don't play fight.